Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The waves lapped at the pristine white sands of the secluded island, their rhythmic crash echoing the peace I had expected to feel. This was meant to be a celebration, a grand milestone marking 30 years of marriage. A love that had withstood the tests of time, raising children, overcoming hardships, and forging an unbreakable bond. Or so I thought. Mary, let me get this straight. My voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper, as though uttering the words aloud would somehow make them more real. We're here celebrating 3 decades of marriage on this romantic island, and you're telling me you want to spend the night with another man? Mary's lips curled into an apologetic smile, one that did nothing to soothe the fire building inside me. Mark, don't be like that. You know I love you more than anything in the world, she said, reaching for my hand, but I jerked away. I felt sick. Then why the hell are you doing this? My pulse hammered, drowning out the distant sound of waves. You want to spend the night in another man's bed, and you think I'll just sit back and accept it? Her expression softened as though she were about to bestow wisdom upon a child who just didn't understand. John is a dying man, Mark. You know his story. You heard Amy speak about him, the loneliness he's suffered since his wife passed. This is his last vacation before the disease takes him. I scoffed, while rising in my throat. And that means you have to sleep with him? It's just one night, she reasoned, her eyes imploring me to understand. One night to bring him some comfort, to remind him of what it feels like to be wanted before he loses his strength. Jesus, Mary, I spat, running a hand through my hair. This isn't just some act of charity. You're telling me you want this. Mary faltered for a moment before sighing. I'm not going to lie to you, Mark. Yes, John is a handsome man, a gentleman, and I won't deny that part of me finds him appealing. My jaw clenched. My wife, the woman I had trusted with my heart for 30 years, was standing before me, justifying her infidelity. And the worst part, she had already made her decision. And that was just the beginning. I stood there, my mind spinning, my stomach twisting into knots. Mary had just confessed that she desired another man. On our anniversary, no less. And she expected me to be okay with it. I took a slow, deep breath, trying to ground myself, but my hands were shaking. So what? I finally forced out, my voice dangerously low. You're just going to waltz into his villa tonight like some kind of gift, all wrapped up in that pretty little dress you picked for our anniversary dinner. She hesitated, but only for a moment. Amy and I talked about it while you and John were out on the jet skis. She's been struggling to come to terms with her father's illness, and she knows how lonely he's been. This is the least I can do for them. I let out a bitter laugh. Amy, right. So this was all arranged, was it? While I was out there, enjoying the waves, oblivious to the fact that my own wife was planning to crawl into bed with some old man. Mary flinched at the venom in my tone. It's not like that, Mark. Oh, then tell me, how exactly is it? I crossed my arms, fixing her with a glare. She swallowed hard, shifting on her feet. Amy and I agreed that would only happen if both you and John consented. I scoffed. Consent? That's rich. You already told John the first was on board, didn't you? Mary bit her lip. That was all the confirmation I needed. My blood boiled. Jesus Christ, Mary. You lied to him. You lied to me. And now you expect me to just let you go. I thought you'd understand, she whispered. I thought you'd want to be with Amy tonight. I took a step closer, my voice cutting through the thick, humid air like a blade. Amy is not my wife, Mary. You are. And 5 minutes ago, I thought I was your husband. Her lips parted as if to speak, but I held up a hand, silencing her. I don't agree to this, I said, my voice shaking with rage. But I can't stop you, can I? You're going to do it anyway. She didn't respond. Go ahead then, I muttered. But don't expect me to be waiting for you when you come crawling back. Mary reached for me again, but I stepped back. Mar, please. Go. I said, my voice hollow. Just go. She turned and walked away. I watched as she disappeared into the villa, my world shattering with every step she took. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't about to take this lying down. Not by a damn long shot. The sun had long since set when I finally moved from my spot on the beach. My hands were clenched into fists, my mind replaying every single moment of that conversation over and over again. I walked back to our villa, expecting to find it empty. But I wasn't alone. Amy was there, waiting. She was dressed in a short silk robe, her hair cascading down her shoulders in loose waves. Her blue eyes gleamed under the dim light. "Mark," she murmured, stepping toward me. "I was hoping you'd come back." I clenched my jaw. "Amy, I think you should leave." She tilted her head. "Why?" "Because of Mary." She let out a soft chuckle, running a hand through her hair. "She's not thinking about you right now, Mark. She's thinking about my father." Her words sliced through me. Amy took another step forward. "I told her this would happen," she whispered, tracing her fingers over my forearm. "I told her she was pushing you away, but she wouldn't listen." I pulled my arm away. "Amy, don't." She pouted. "Why not? You deserve better than this, Mark. Let me help you forget." For a moment, I hesitated. My entire world had just crumbled. My wife was betraying me. The idea of losing myself in someone else, even if just for a night, was tempting. Amy seemed to sense my hesitation. She shrugged the silk robe off her shoulders, letting it pool at her feet. I swallowed hard. She was beautiful, and she was offering herself to me. But I couldn't do it. I stepped back, shaking my head. "No." Amy's lips parted in surprise. "No." I exhaled sharply. "I'm not like them. I don't cheat." A slow smirk curled on her lips. "Suit yourself," she murmured, bending down to pick up her robe. "But don't think she won't be doing the same thing with my father." I clenched my fists as she walked away, her hips swaying with each step. The moment the door closed behind her, I slammed my fist into the wall. I had never felt so goddamn helpless in my entire life. But that was about to change. Morning came, and with it, a sickening realization. I couldn't stay here another second. Mary came back to the villa, just as the sun was rising. She smelled like another man, her hair was a mess, and she had the audacity to look at me like nothing had happened. "Mark," she whispered, reaching for me. I took a step back. "Don't touch me." She flinched. "Mark, please. It's over now. I know you're angry, but..." "Over?" I let out a cold laugh. "It's just beginning." Her brows knitted together. "What do you mean?" I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "You'll see." She didn't know it yet, but I had a plan, and when I was done, she would regret ever betraying me. Mary stood before me, her face twisted in an expression of regret, but I could see it now. It wasn't real. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was only sorry that I wasn't taking her back as easily as she expected. I kept my voice eerily calm, watching her closely. "So how was he?" I asked, my words dripping with venom. Her lips trembled. "Mark, please don't do this." I tilted my head, feigning confusion. "Do what?" "I'm just asking a simple question, Mary. Was it worth it?" She swallowed hard, shifting uncomfortably under my gaze. I don't know what you wanted to say." I chuckled, shaking my head. "You know what? It doesn't even matter anymore." I turned away, picking up my suitcase from the corner of the room. Mary's eyes widened. "Wait, what are you doing?" I smiled, a slow, calculated grin. "Leaving." Panic flashed in her eyes. "No. Mark, no. We need to talk about this." I stepped closer, lowering my voice to a whisper. "Oh, don't worry, Mary. We will talk about this, but not in the way you think." And with that, I walked out the door, leaving her standing there, utterly lost. But she had no idea what was coming next. As the boat carried me back to the mainland, my mind raced. My initial anger had morphed into something sharper, more calculated. I had spent 30 years building a life with Mary, 30 years believing we were in this together, and she had thrown it all away for a cheap thrill. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. No, this betrayal deserved consequences. The first step? I needed to find out exactly who John and Amy really were. Because something about the way this all happened, it felt planned. Too perfect. And if my instincts were right, I wasn't the first man they had done this to. After landing back home, I wasted no time digging into John and Amy's past. I had contacts in places Mary didn't know about, people who owed me favors. And within days, I had exactly what I needed. John wasn't some innocent, dying old man. He was a con artist. And Amy? She wasn't even his daughter. They had pulled this same scam before, multiple times in fact, finding wealthy couples, preying on their vulnerabilities, convincing the wives to cheat, while making the husbands feel trapped and powerless. And then They'd disappear, leaving chaos in their wake. But this time, they had messed with the wrong man, and I was about to make sure they never did it again. I played the role of the heartbroken husband perfectly. I let Mary believe I was devastated, that I needed time to process what had happened. I even pretended to consider forgiving her. She was desperate to fix things, to return to the life we had before, and I used that to my advantage. I told her I wanted to take a break, time apart to clear my head. In reality, I was setting up the perfect trap. I reached out to John, making it seem like I wanted to make amends, even thanking him for showing me the truth about my marriage. He took the bait, and soon, I had everything I needed to destroy them both. John had no idea that I was playing him. He thought he had won, that I had accepted my fate like the other men before me. But what he didn't know was that I had access to the one thing that could ruin him: evidence. Every single scam he had ever pulled, the fake identities, the previous victims, the money he had stolen, and I was going to expose it all. But first, I had one last move to make. John thought he was safe. He thought Amy was still on his side. But greed is a funny thing. With the right incentive, even the most loyal accomplice will turn. And Amy? She was no exception. With the promise of a large payout, she agreed to sell John out. She gave me everything I needed: their financial records, their fake passports, even their next target. John never saw it coming. The morning of John's arrest was a masterpiece. I had tipped off law enforcement, providing them with undeniable proof of his crimes. And when they came for him, Mary was right there to witness it. She screamed as they dragged him away, turning to me in desperation. "Mark, do something." I met her gaze, cold and emotionless. "I did. I made sure you got exactly what you deserved." And just like that, the man she had betrayed me for was gone. But I wasn't done with her yet. With John out of the picture, it was time to deal with Mary. She begged. She cried. She swore she had been blind, manipulated. But I didn't care. I handed her the divorce papers without a word. And when she realized what she was losing, our home, our savings, our life together, she fell apart. She had thought she was trading up, but all she had done was throw away everything for a lie. And now, she was left with nothing. Mary had always been a strong woman, or at least, she had played the role well. Over the years, she had mastered the art of making herself seem like the devoted wife, the nurturing mother, the perfect partner. But now, as she stood across from me in our once shared home, stripped of all the illusions she had carefully built, I saw her for what she truly was: a broken woman, a liar, a cheater, and, most importantly, someone who was about to lose everything. The divorce papers lay on the table between us, a thick stack of legal documents that represented the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. I had spent weeks making sure every detail was in place, every asset divided, every loose end tied up. And now, all that was left was for Mary to sign on the dotted line. She stared at them, her hands trembling. "Mark, please," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Don't do this." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms over my chest. "Oh, you think I should just forgive and forget?" I let out a humorless chuckle, shaking my head. "You destroyed everything, Mary, and now you think you can just cry your way out of it." She sniffled, wiping at her tear-streaked face. "I was manipulated," she said desperately. "John, he made me believe." "Don't," I snapped, my voice cold and sharp. "Don't you dare sit there and act like you were some innocent victim. You had a choice, Mary. You chose to betray me. You chose to sleep with another man. And you chose to lie about it." She flinched as though I had physically struck her, her lip quivering. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered. I clenched my jaw, forcing down the bitter laughter that threatened to spill out. "You have a sick way of showing love, then." Her gaze dropped to the papers, her hands gripping the edge of the table, as if she were trying to steady herself. "If we could just talk, Mark. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But you don't have to throw away 30 years over one night." I leaned forward, my eyes narrowing. "It wasn't one night, Mary. It was every single second that led up to it. It was every lie you told me, every moment you spent planning it, and every second afterward when you expected me to just move on like it was nothing." She let out a soft sob, her shoulders shaking. "I don't know who I am without you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "Then I guess you should have thought about that before you let another man touch you." Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she reached for the pen with trembling fingers. She hesitated for a moment, her breath hitching, before pressing the tip to the paper. And then, just like that, it was done. She had signed away everything. Our marriage, our life together, our future. And I had never felt lighter. The first few weeks after the divorce were eerily quiet. I had expected more of a fight from Mary, expected her to lash out, to beg, to try and manipulate me into giving her another chance. But she didn't. Instead, she disappeared. I heard from mutual friends that she had rented a small apartment on the other side of town, that she had quit her job, that she had withdrawn from the world. It was as if she had finally realized the gravity of what she had done, and it had crushed her. I should have felt satisfied, but instead, all I felt was empty. For 30 years, my life had revolved around Mary. Even after her betrayal, even after all the pain she had caused me, she had still been a constant presence in my life. And now, she was just gone. But I refused to let myself dwell on it. I threw myself into work, into new hobbies, into anything that kept my mind occupied. I spent more time with my daughter, who had been my rock throughout the entire ordeal. I focused on rebuilding my life, on moving forward. And slowly, the wounds began to heal. But then, one night, out of nowhere, I got a call. It was late, well past midnight, when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I groggily reached for it, frowning when I saw Mary's name flashing across the screen. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello. There was a long pause on the other end, followed by a sharp inhale. Mark. Mary's voice came through the line, small and broken. I didn't know who else to call. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. Mary? What's going on? A shaky breath. I think someone's watching me. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? She sniffled. For the past few days, I keep seeing the same car parked outside my building. And tonight, someone tried to get into my apartment. My grip on the phone tightened. Did you call the police? I was too scared, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know what to do. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. Where are you now? In my bedroom, she murmured. I locked the door, but a loud crash echoed through the line. My blood ran cold. Mary, a muffled scream, the sound of scuffling. And then, the line went dead. My heart pounded as I threw on my clothes, grabbing my keys and sprinting to my car. I didn't know what the hell was happening, but I knew one thing for certain. Mary was in danger. And despite everything she had done, despite all the betrayal and the pain, I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I sped through the streets, barely stopping at red lights, my mind racing with 1,000 different scenarios. Who was after her? Was it John? Had someone else from his past come looking for revenge? By the time I reached her apartment building, my hands were shaking. I sprinted up the stairs, taking them two at a time, until I reached her door. It was ajar, hanging open like a gaping wound. I pushed it open slowly, my heart hammering. Mary. Silence. Then, a soft whimper. I followed the sound, stepping into her bedroom, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Mary was curled up in the corner, her face bruised, her lips split, and standing over her, holding a knife, was John. I froze in the doorway, my breath catching in my throat. John, the man who had taken everything from me, the man who had manipulated my wife, shattered my marriage, and walked away unscathed. And now, he was standing over Mary, a knife glinting in his grip, his face twisted in something between rage and desperation. Mary was curled up on the floor, her body shaking, blood dripping from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes darted toward me, wide with terror. Mark, she whimpered. Help me. John turned slowly, his lips curling into a smirk. Ah, look who decided to show up, he drawled, tilting his head. Took you long enough. I clenched my fists. What the hell are you doing here? He let out a low chuckle, twirling the knife between his fingers. Just pay my respects. You know, after everything your wife and I shared, I thought it was only fair I say a proper goodbye. I gritted my teeth, stepping forward. Put the knife down, John. His eyes gleamed with amusement. Or what? I didn't answer. Instead, I moved. Fast. Before he could react, I lunged forward, grabbing his wrist and twisting it sharply. The knife clattered to the floor, but he was quick. He slammed his fist into my ribs, knocking the breath from my lungs. Pain exploded through my side, but I didn't let go. I drove my knee into his stomach, sending him staggering backward. He gasped, his face contorting in pain, but I wasn't done. Not even close. I grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. "You ruined my life," I hissed. "You took everything from me." He grinned through the pain, blood trickling from his lip. "And you let me." That was it. I snapped. I threw him to the ground, my fist colliding with his face, over and over again. I didn't stop. Not when he begged. Not when he cried. Not when his smirk finally vanished and turned into pure, unfiltered fear. By the time I pulled back, he was barely conscious. Breathing hard, I grabbed the knife from the floor and pressed it against his throat. "You ever come near her again," I growled, "and I'll make sure you never walk away." His breath hitched. He knew I wasn't bluffing. I let the knife drop, shoving him away from me. "Get out," I spat, before I changed my mind. John scrambled to his feet, wiping at the blood dripping from his nose. He glanced at Mary once, then turned and bolted. The moment he was gone, I let out a shaky breath. Mary was still huddled in the corner, staring up at me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite name. Fear, gratitude, regret. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. I looked away. I should have walked out right then and there. I should have left her to deal with the mess she had created. But I didn't. Because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain, some part of me still remembered the woman I had loved for 30 years. And that was the part that kept me from walking away. At least for now. The police arrived not long after, taking John into custody. Turns out, he had a long list of crimes attached to his name. Fraud, identity theft, even assault. He wouldn't be seeing the outside world for a long time. Mary, on the other hand, she was a wreck. The past few months had broken her. She had lost everything. Her marriage, her stability, her dignity. And now, she was left with nothing but regret. I didn't stay long after giving my statement to the cops. I had done what I needed to do. I had saved her life. But that didn't mean I forgave her. As I turned to leave, Mary reached out, grabbing my wrist. "Mark," she whispered, "please don't go." I looked down at her hand, then met her gaze. "I already did," I said simply, and then I walked away. The years that followed were different. At first, it was hard. Starting over after 30 years of marriage wasn't easy. I had to learn how to be on my own again, how to rebuild a life that had been shattered. But eventually, I found peace. I moved to a new city, took on new hobbies, made new friends. I even met someone who reminded me what it felt like to be truly loved. As for Mary, last I heard, she never really recovered. She spent her days alone, haunted by the choices she had made. And John, well, last I checked, prison wasn't treating him too kindly. Karma, I suppose. And as I sat on my porch one evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't broken. I was free. Betrayal changes a man. It strips him down to his very core, forcing him to confront who he really is. But in the end, it's not the betrayal that defines him. It's how he chooses to rise from it. And me? I chose to walk away, to rebuild, to be better. Because in the end, revenge is satisfying. But moving on, that's the real victory.